And happy September, everyone. It is Jennifer Britton, one half of the Remote Pathways podcast. Thank you for joining us for our monthly community call. And I'm so excited to be back together again with Michelle, my co-host. Michelle, how are you keeping on this, not Friday, Thursday, September the 9th?
I'm doing good, Jen. I'm glad to be here with you.
Great to be back together again because we did not host a call last month. Last month, I was recording my TED Talk, and that was a really exciting milestone moment of my life and my career. If you haven't checked it out yet, find me on TED.com, Jennifer Britton, or under the virtual remote and hybrid checklist. And that has started, going around the world. I won't say it's gone viral by any means, but it is one of those digital footprints that I will have for a lifetime. So a very fun process.
Congratulations again. That was a big moment. That's worth celebrating.
It's worth celebrating. Well, we're going to keep on celebrating because it's back to work for so many people, whether you are going back to the office, remaining virtual, remaining remote, or maybe going hybrid. I think every place in the world is a little bit different right now. Every industry is a little bit different. Every workspace is a little bit different. And so today, we're going to talk about an important topic, regardless of where you are, which is the topic of our current episode on motivation. And I want to share with you the claims model for motivation. So with that, we're going to get started, and I get to take us through today's sort of warm up. So Michelle knows that I've been working on a new product for about a year plus now, actually, at this point. And I got part of the prototype just the other day. So many of you know how much I love using dice as something physical and tangible. And so I am pleased to let you know that there is going to be a Reconnecting Workspaces Conversation Sparker dice set. And there will actually be 3 sets of dice to match the new upcoming 90-day guide. There'll be a month 1, month 2, and month 3 series, or volume 1, 2, and 3. So I thought it would be appropriate to get started today by rolling the first of 15 dice that will be available to folks. So Michelle, are you open to maybe not setting an intention for the month, but just sort of seeing how this icon relates or connects with you?
Yeah, that sounds fun. I'm so excited that these exist. It's been so long in the waiting.
It's like the end of a big project. Like 2021 is wrapping up all these projects. So tell me when to stop.
Oh, poor thing. Stop now.
All right. Well, it is the icon for focus.
Oh, okay.
So I want to give us just 45 seconds right now. Maybe draw out the icon. As you can see, it's like a little eye framed. And I want you to note for yourself, what do you want to put in focus this month? Or maybe it's this week. Just take 45 seconds, jot down a few notes about focus. All right, Michelle, that's a little more than 45 seconds. Would you like to share what emerged for you?
Travel, retreat, preparing to launch the new program, The Amazing Adventure, because that'll be coming out in the fall. And so it's just all things program right now. I'm focusing on that so I can share it with others.
I love that. And where can people find out more about your programming for the fall? Because chances are people will be coming across this when those programs are live. What's the best place to find them?
My website, or reach out to me directly. Pretty soon I'll have a landing page for that specifically so they can read all the details and make plans to have a conversation or join the virtual table, take the adventure.
And so your website again is?
MichelleMullinsCoaching.com.
MichelleMullinsCoaching.com. Love it. Love it.
Yes.
Well, I'll share.
Yeah. What
My
came up for you?
focus, several words. So leverage, right? Leverage is the name of the game for me in 2021 to, maximize. This business continues to grow for me at Potentials Realized, and there's lots of different lines of business, some passive, some very active. So leverage is a big key thing to really keep things moving, because it's interesting. Clients want a lot of different things right now, from everything disc rollouts to virtual facilitation training to group and team coaching to reconnecting workspaces. So for me, it's focusing and it's leveraging. So I'm hoping after today's call actually to reach out to a local school board to see if I might be able to get an intern to come and work with me for a couple of months and to really see the back end of a business. And the other word that I said is extrication. So that is like, I've really got to extract myself from some of the very direct hands-on work to free me up in this creative space. Because I think it's these projects like my books, the dice. There's the new hybrid quiz as well. That's
Oh, yes.
ready
I
for
forgot about the quiz. When does
yeah.
that come out?
Well, I've held it back. It's actually been done for 2 weeks now. And
Okay.
I just wanted to think about the right time. I think it's probably going to come out mid-September. So
Okay.
you'll find a link for that at reconnectingworkspaces.com. Just like you'll see a link to these new dice set, which will be housed at reconnectingworkspaces.com, at Potentials Realized store, and probably also over on the Conversation Sparker website, because all of this, there's as all of you know, so many different pathways to our work, but things like reconnecting workspaces is really becoming an umbrella for so many different pieces. So that's just my little focus for now. And I hope that people found this fun. We'd love to hear what your focus is, and let us know by commenting perhaps in a couple of places. Don't forget, we've got our Facebook page for those on Facebook. We're also on Instagram at Remote Pathways. And of course, you can comment under the episode here at the video. So lots of different ways to connect in with us. Anything you want to say as we get out of our getting started, getting geared up for today's topic, Michelle?
I love the word geared up. We're still in Q3, right? We're at the end of Q3 with momentum, and that always makes me think of gearing up, or I guess we might be winding down from that momentum. Some things maybe it's time to ponder and to reflect. That season of reflections coming up, but I want to finish strong in this momentum phase.
Well, yeah, and we're really, like Q3 for some is such a big quarter, right? Today is back to school for a lot of kids here in my area. So like I've noticed, and I've been here, I've been out this morning, but just seeing like some parents are like, oh, how exciting. High school kids don't go back till tomorrow. So I think for those of us that have high school kids, it's still a little like, okay, let's get you set up so you can continue to be independent. And that's part of the momentum. How do we find windows of time? But yeah, we'll move next month into the reflection phase, but it does not mean that we're not still in this daily steps plus consistent action. And as I said at the start of the call, one of the pieces that's coming down the pipeline that I'm really excited to be able to release and announce, it will be out in the next 3 to 4 weeks, if not sooner, the 90-day guide to success. So this is the sort of the proof copy before it goes to like printing proof. And just stay tuned, because I think for Q4, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a great companion to Plan, Do, Track, to reconnecting workspaces, and to what we've been talking about here at Remote Pathways for so long. So stay tuned.
Perfect. Can't wait for that one.
Can't wait either. Can't wait. So motivation is our topic. What keeps you rolling? And we've had some really amazing summer calls. I just pulled in sort of our last 2 episodes, which of course are more our August focus. So we had, maybe you want to introduce Clint, because Clint. Tell a little bit about episode 42 with our great conversation with Clint Byers.
Yeah. So Clint is my friend and pastor, and he has done such a wonderful job just bringing us in. I'm part of the hybrid community at church, and he really did a great job at making me feel connected and valuable and heard, and gave me the opportunity to connect with others. And So he was able to share that information with our listeners, as everyone's trying to figure out how can we do this and how can we do this well. And he also shared his tools for transformation, which are really, really, a lot of people are really curious about those. So tune in and listen to that. And then we also had another great episode about the 10 systems for hybrid, remote, and virtual teams. And that came from Reconnecting Workspaces, right? Was that part of it that we pulled from?
Yeah. And I think, with systems, again, coming into like Q3, Q4, I think it's an opportunity to sort of do a checkpoint. Like, how are we doing with our systems? Certainly, one of the themes you've probably heard us talk about in the virtual, remote, and hybrid world is systems help to streamline. They help to keep people aligned. They help people continue to move, particularly asynchronously. And that's another theme that will be coming up soon. So I think there's been a lot on the go. We really want to invite you as we step out of season 2 and into season 3 here at the podcast in these next couple of weeks and months. Like, let us know what you're interested and intrigued to hear about. I have to say, our topics continue to be shaped by the conversations that Michelle and I are hearing with our different, clients, whether it's individuals, whether it's organizations. There's a lot of talk and a lot of buzz. And, I think this way of working is here to stay for so many people and so many derivatives. So with that, is there anything you want to say? I didn't include episode 41 or 40 here. We had, of course, Christina Lee, who was with us sort of in the end of June. She talked about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And what was episode 41? Do you recall offhand?
I've slept since then, Jen.
I
still have the one from yesterday. It just was released yesterday. That's the one that's top of mind for me, right? That we're going to talk about today, the claims model.
Claims model. Well, I think, that is at the heart. So we're going to go to episode 44 today, which is a claims model to motivation in the remote space. And drum roll, please. Let's talk a little bit about what claims means. So as many of you know, I've worked with remote teams, organizations for the last 3 decades, right? As I was saying to a group of talent, sort of like talent development officers and like executives last week or a week ago. Yeah, I guess it was last week, is that, hybrid work, remote work has been here for a long time. It's not like this is anything new for many of us, but key to it is ensuring that we're really helping people do their best work. And that takes us into the landscape of motivation. So for several years, I've shared what I've coined the claims model to motivation. And I thought it would be really useful to think about that on a couple of levels. Number one, what's motivating you every day? In ongoing change, disruption, perhaps complexity, what's helping you get out of bed every morning? There's so many great writers on this topic of motivation, from like Daniel Pink's writing around, under the book Drive, where he talks about autonomy, mastery, and other skills. There are really key levers that I think each one of us can look at and say, is this something that actually does help me excel? Is this something I can lean into when things get challenging, whether it's challenging because of competing priorities, or whether it's challenging because something has yet again changed, or whether it's just you're tired or even exhausted. And it's in those moments that I think we want to lean into the things that really fuel us, because it will help us perhaps find that next bit of gas that'll get us across the finish line. So before we go into what claims is, Michelle, you're always so great at like having me throw questions your way, but if you had to say for yourself, what helps you do your best work, or what gets you out of bed every morning excited for your work? What's the 1 or 2 things that helps you like really leap out of bed every day?
Yeah, I think about it's people for me. I get excited about the people that I'm going to interact with through the day, curiosity, wondering what's going on in people's lives and how I can come alongside them, even if it's just a listening ear, a word of encouragement, or connecting them to a tool or resource that can help them. So it's highly relational for me.
Yes. And why I wanted to start with you is because I hoped that you would introduce us to the idea of community, right? The C in claim stands for community. We are part of a bigger whole. And this is what I love about you and your work and what you bring to Remote Pathways is like, you're all about relationships and all about connection as the connection coach. So the C part of claims is really, how are you perhaps driven by being part of a community, forming a community? As I write in day 19 of the 90-day guide, we do want to be part of a bigger whole. Some call this belonging. In this work, it's about relationship development, communication, and building a strong team culture. And I think one piece that has been missing for so many of us, myself included, has been the sense of like deep community, of that like collegial relationships that you can have. And several of you know that I think I may have shared this in July, but probably not actually. This past summer, I was able to be part of an amazing community up north where I have my seasonal office. And for the first time in 18 years, I actually rented out office space in a place. And I want to give them a shout out, the Muskoka Collective. And even the name should give you a sense of their value around community and connectivity. And it was just so refreshing to be able to go in. Like I have to say, I picked the membership where I had 24-hour a day, 7-day a week access. And it's not to say I was there sleeping by any means, but I think I was there every day over the summer, even if it was just for an hour to like get on good internet. Because if you go back to past summers, you would see me doing calls from the cottage where I might just freeze in the middle of a call. It was such a relief to be able to be on high speed, but also to like get to know these great other business owners in the Northland, as we like to call it, up in that area. So a community, I realized, especially in these last few weeks, as I've made the shift back to the city, wound things down up north, like I miss physical community every
Yes.
day here, and there's nothing like it. And if I had the bandwidth, I'd set something up myself, but I think it would be really hard to replicate that in many ways. So community, where are you, everyone, in terms of like, is community a driver? And if it is, when I say driver, we often talk about motivational levers as drivers. They're things that fuel us. So if community is something that fuels you, how are you building that in? Maybe not to every day, but to every week, or certainly like seasons of the year. And Michelle, maybe you, because this is key for you, what do you do to building community and a community focus in your world?
Yeah, for in person, I intentionally make sure the people are on my calendar. Just like your checkbook will tell the truth about where your money's going, your calendar will tell the truth about where your time's going. So
Ooh,
I look for names and I reach out on purpose to people and set up those conversations on purpose, because if I'm not intentional about it, it'll pass by. So
for
make
sure.
sure that people are actually on your calendar.
Love that. Love that. So, community number one. And as I shared in my TED talk, many of the CEOs in today's workspace are really recognizing that remote collaboration is here to stay, right? 78% that were surveyed in a PwC survey said that remote collaboration is here to stay. And collaboration is a key part of building community. It's one of those skill sets that we all need to master. So if you are a community, if you are motivated by community, you're probably good at building community. And that may be a skill set that you want to focus in on, especially if you're going back into workspaces. Maybe there's opportunities for you to take on a role in a special project, get some visibility, or be that lightning rod of community in your organization.
That's great. I always say I like long-term relationships, short-term projects.
Yes, and we need each other, right? No person
Yeah.
is an island. I've been saying that pretty consistently for 2 years now. We need others. We do need others
So
as
tell
much
me
as we
about
love our.
learning. What's this learning about?
So yeah, L is for learning, the claims model. Learning, of course, is needed to be ongoing and ever focused. In fact, just last week I was thinking, what am I going to put on my learning map for fall? As some of you know, I just love to learn. It's one of my key strengths, but it's also, I think, something that has helped me as a writer and helped me as a practitioner. I cannot stop learning in this field. And so
Right.
for many of us, this could be the motivational cue or piece that helps you do your best work, right? Even with books coming out this summer, I jumped into this program at the end of June to help me build out this quiz. And I figured, oh, everyone would be taking action on it. There were 2,000 students, and I was one of the first 36 people to finish their quiz to get it ready for launch. And that just spoke like, wow, like I really don't recognize how much I do love to not only get into learning, but get into action.
Yes.
Because personally, there is a bias in my work that, it's not just about learning for learning's sake, but learning only happens when we put our knowledge into practice. And there's a
Mhm.
lot of researchers who hold that same sort of mindset. So let me ask you, Michelle, is learning on your top maybe 5 motivational pieces?
Absolutely. And recently it popped up as one of my values too. So I truly, I live a learning life.
Yes. And what we'll see with people who are motivated by learning is you might find that you are really fulfilled when you have a learning curve. Yes, it's going to be uncomfortable, but when that learning curve actually drops off and plateaus, which is natural, that may be when you start feeling really discontented. And so,
Interesting.
as with any of these, when you're sort of in that meh stage or that, oh, I just, I don't know, should I stay in this role? Should I stay in this job? Should I stay in this organization? You might want to think about what is happening as it relates to these different motivational factors. And yes, while we're in an era of the great resignation, there may be opportunities for lateral moves in your organization already that afford you opportunities to cultivate any one of these motivational factors. And obviously, if you want to leave, you can leave. But one thing that I look back at my career, and while I love the fact that I was always in new roles every couple of years, and because I love the learning, and organizations would literally poach me from one role to another. But what I missed, and I look back upon, was the fact that like I didn't have that consistent experience with one organization for years at a time. So again, all different choice points, but
It's
learning is a big
interesting.
one.
Yeah,
And so
there's an interesting insight that you pulled from that.
yeah. Well, that's why I like these levers, right? And what's interesting on teams, which is where this work really came from, is on a team, we're all going to be driven by different things. So that shows up in different needs and different it also links in very much to our styles. So the third one is autonomy. And of course, autonomy in the remote space is a big piece of the driver for many of us. As I write in the 90-day guide, remote work is not short on autonomy. When clarity exists, remote workers can focus in on what's important. So again, coming back into the fall or at change of season, it might be an opportunity to reconnect with your boss, your peers, to really have discussion around what does autonomy mean? What does it, how does it afford you an opportunity to do your best? Quick example again from my own experience. I loved my former world of work because I was literally thousands of miles away from my boss. And it meant that I had a huge amount of autonomy. But with autonomy comes responsibility. And I think that's something that we often forget about, right? It's not just you have the autonomy to do everything, but once you do, there is a responsibility to follow through. And some people like that weight, other people don't. But certainly autonomy is one of the drivers. And I think this is a crossover with, if memory serves me correct, autonomy, mastery, and something else are the top 3 in Daniel Pink's
Okay.
framework of drive. Okay, any comments on autonomy?
Well, what I'm noticing there is because I've just been in the needs and values assessment so much, is one of my needs is freedom, and my specific need is independence. So that really falls into that, but it's connected with purpose. It's not just freedom, for something. There's purpose attached. In order for me to be effective and make the impact that I need to, I need that freedom and flexibility to drive my own schedule and make those decisions. So,
Love it. Well, you've just brought us to impact too, right? So for some, and this may be you, it certainly is another driver of mine, it is impact. Like, how do we impact others through our work, through our time? What is the impact you want to make? As remote workers, we often measure our impact through output, right? This has been a big shift that we've seen. Management through output. And also notice that impact can be measured through the influence we have over others and how we build a sense of community and team. So impact can be multifold, right? It's like for some, it's not about the money, it's about the impact. And that, again, back to my own career choices, first 15 years of my career, it was not about making a lot of money. It was about having impact through the work that I did, which was bringing people together for conversations so that they could chart out their future. So for many of you, think about what impact and what impact means, and if that's a piece that is a driver. And if so, what might you do in this season of work, in this quarter, in the rest of the year to really amplify that notion of impact?
Reminds me of your logo, that ripple for potentials realized.
For sure. It is a big driver. If I don't feel that there's an impact, I will probably step away, right? It's just, it is probably one of my biggest ones.
Yeah, I see that in you. It's great.
For some, it might be though the money, right? So monetary motivation. And if you spend any time in the entrepreneurial sector, where I spend a lot of my time, you sit back, you listen, like it's all about the money for an entrepreneur. It's no, some of us, it is about money and impact, but for some, it might be the motivational pull. Won't go into any names, but in members of the community that I was working with this recent past, it was really interesting. On a daily basis, had a chance to connect in with someone, and I would say their motivation was like money, and that's not a bad thing. It allowed them to have immense impact by any means, and I learned so much just by watching how they worked. Right, this is the great thing about co-working, is you can really start getting sparked and stretched by seeing other people at play. And as I was sharing, like, it's been 17 years since I've actually been in an office with other people. That's a lifetime. That is a lifetime. So money, as I wrote here, monetarily, what's important, especially if you are an entrepreneur.
Yeah. I also see a link with people that I work with. Money can be a driver. It's often linked to generosity too. It's not just like this. It's not, it has to do with, there's purpose behind it. Maybe they want to fund some initiative that they're doing to help those around them. So there is an importance behind that money.
Absolutely. And I think that's really well said, because without revenue for entrepreneurs and organizations, we can't have the impact that we need.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, that is definitely going to be a motivational draw for some. And the last one, the S, is for status. So status is really like, what's our role? Where do we fit within society? Where do we fit within our organizational structure? For some, it is about having status, and that could equal power, it could equal security, it could equal a lot of different things. And think about how that plays out. Are you always the one who is the go-to on X? Or is your status role in an organization the cheerleader? Or are you the social coordinator or the glue that brings people together? And so status does not only talks to like power differentials, but it also talks to roles. And I think the topic of roles are so important, which is why link back to something that I was working on this summer with the hybrid quiz. I felt that it was so important to pull together this hybrid quiz that'll give people a bit more of an insight into what is their style. So style is linked to motivation. It's a bit different, but style might point to one or many of these levers that we're talking about today in a claims model.
That's exactly where my heart went when you started describing status. I'm like, that quiz, it brought me, because when you clarified that as a role, oftentimes I've heard people go, I need you in my organization, but I don't know how to describe what you do. And I'm like, I don't either. But when I took that quiz, it made sense. Yes. As soon as I got the results, I'm like, yes. And then so now I feel like I'm equipped to speak to an organization and say, here's why I can really step in and help you. So I can't wait for people to dive into that quiz.
So again, I'll just put it out because you might be seeing this like 6 months from now. Head on over to reconnectingworkspaces.com. There will be a link to the hybrid work quiz there, and check it out. You're going to find 5 different types of roles we see in the hybrid and remote space. It is not the end all and be all by any means, but it's going to give you some insights as to how you like to work. And it just takes a couple of minutes. What I love about it is you're going to get a report. And out of that report, it's going to give you further insight. And then I will be doing this fall some webinars on the 5 styles of hybrid workers. Again, it's not the only, but it definitely is some of the more common styles that we see that teams need right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, Michelle, what do you think? Claims model. What's important for you to focus on going forward this season?
I just appreciate the claims model. I noticed when we were doing the podcast episode, this is easy to remember. You know, the claims model is so easy to remember. So, and it also put my radar up. I'm looking for this. I'm listening for this in the people that I interact with, because it will help me take that journey with them, you know, and connect back to that and working from a place of authenticity.
And I'm so glad you've made that connection. Again, where the model has emerged from has been, you know, my decades of working with teams and seeing how everyone on the team is generally motivated by different things. And as leaders or as supporters to teams, whether you're in a coaching role or a leadership role, you know, internally or externally, we want to really help people connect in with what's going to help them do their best work every day. Again, because remote work, it's up to us. We need to be the self-starter. And so if we have better insight around what is that motivational sort of like draw, or what is the motivational sort of like engine, that can help us understand what we want to ask for, how we want to position ourselves, who we might want to collaborate with, because I think all of these motivational factors are critical, right? And motivation is
absolutely. They're connected in some way. But I love how you kick this off is what gets you out of the bed every day. And that's not just on a great day. That's on those days that you don't want to get up. You know, you and I were talking about some of the challenges that you can experience as an entrepreneur, right? It's like, this day is tough. There's a lot of obstacles ahead of me. But again, what gets me out of the bed every day? I just love that question.
And that's what it is. That's motivation. So enjoy. You'll find more of this on page 143 of the new 90-day guide for remote work success. Look up my name and you will find it on Amazon. I'm referring to it in different names. So I've got to like really get the name down, but it should be the 90-day guide for success. Look at Jennifer Britton. And there, we recently, of course, did episode, I think, 44. You can listen to more on this, but wanted to bring it back today in our time together. So I'm going to just do a quick save. There we go. I'll share this online. And yeah, coming soon. So our topic, as you can see that in the sidebar, let me clear the screen. I'm going to stop the share just for a minute because it's so much easier. Let's take you into the not topic, but our motivational ping of the day.
Yeah, you will never have this day again. So make it count. A perfect connection with motivation.
A really perfect connection, right? If we can live and lean into those motivational levers when we're having a rough day, it will ensure that your day counts for a much bigger impact. So thank you for finding that one. And our conversation sparker this month is simply what supports you to do your best work. So I think a really nice umbrella as we start into September. And our next call a month from now, Thursday, October the 7th at 7 a.m. We are going to continue to roll down the remote pathways road and down the hybrid highway. We've got some really exciting guests coming up in our 3rd season. So as always, make sure that you are following us on your podcast player. We'd love for you to leave a review as well. Mm-hmm. So make sure that you're doing that. That helps us, get the word out about these really important topics. And remote work is not going anywhere. So Michelle, anything that you want to share before we go to wrap up our community call for this month?
Just seeing October kind of took me back a little bit. Wait, how is it already this season? So just seeing that date brought some, oh, it's happening fast.
It's happening fast, and it almost happens with like a light switch, right? Here, at least in my neck of the woods, once Labor Day happens, it is a light switch. Like not just, kids are back to school because our kids go back to school right after Labor Day historically. It's also, the weather changes pretty much like end of August, beginning of September. You notice the days getting shorter, warm days, but very cool nights. And of course, like at the supermarket or the grocery store, all of a sudden it's pumpkin everything, right?
Pumpkin and mums. I see mums at the local hardware store.
Yeah, we've had our mums out since like the hottest day of summer. And I was looking at them on the hottest day of summer going, I'm not going to buy my mums yet.
Yeah, right.
It's not going to happen. But it will. I did buy a mum, just the other day. Nice yellow one in honor of you. So
thank you.
yeah, it's a yellow one. I'll take a photo of that. Well, anyways, everyone, thank you very much for joining us. Michelle, anything you want to direct people to as we go to wrap up? Because you've got some exciting stuff on the horizon.
I think I will have information soon. So hold me accountable to that, Jen. Ask me again next month and I'll have something to share.
There we go. And I'll just say, keep an eye open. A lot of exciting things happening over at Reconnecting Workspaces. I'll make sure too that there's maybe a link on remotepathways.com, but coming up, certainly before I would hope before October the 7th, will be not just the prototypes of the dice, but you might even be able to order a set in advance for the holiday season. Because what a great gift to give to yourself or give to your teams that you work with. So stay tuned. Thank you for spending time with us today. Last words go to you, Michelle.
Have a great day and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone.
Take care.